graphic design and layout. I'm going to go over the assignment 1A, and this is called Illustrator Basics. So what the goal is here with this Illustrator Basics is trying to teach the pen tool, the pencil tool, coloring, and layers. So a lot to teach. It's really one assignment to give you some of the basics of getting around in Illustrator. What you'll do is, well, here's the prop. Well, let me go over this. First, as usual, review this project sheet. View the video that I have linked down here, and then and that'll tell us go over the assignment that I'm doing now and demonstrate how to do it. So what you'll do is you'll open up the supporting file, Adobe Assignment 1, Adobe Illustrator Basics supporting file, and you'll trace over pages 1 through 3, and then and you'll only use 1-point stroke with no fill on all your shapes, and then choose some other color besides black or gray to for those strokes, so I can tell that you've actually done it. And then on page 4, there's some art there that you'll be tracing, and I'm going to do that with you. So here we go. Okay, so I'm going to jump over to Illustrator. Here's the file. This is what you'll see, and let me give you a kind of an overview of the whole thing. So on page 1, which is up here in the top left, you will be tracing over these with the pen tool. The pen tool is right here, and I'll do that with you. The next one, you can see the difference. This is all angles, and this has a lot of curves. So there is a we're going to be introducing handles in here. So we're going to be creating anchor points, and then here we'll introduce handles to make curves. And by the way, I'm a Star Wars fan, so you'll see some of this. And then down here on the left, you'll trace over it and fill it with black, which I'm not sure if I'll do, but I may go over a little bit of that with you. And then down here, we'll use the pencil tool, and the pencil tool is found underneath the shaper tool. So it looks like a little pencil. And notice, so one thing I should point out is you should watch Intro to Illustrator video, but so you'll know that these little triangles, when you have a tool and there's a little triangle, that means there's a submenu under it. Okay, and that's where the pencil tool is. This is the tool that's up on top. You click on this, and then you'll get to your pencil tool. So this one will use the pencil tool, and as well as layers to get from one spot to another. Okay, so here we go. You'll know how to zoom in if you watch that Illustrator intro. So here's the pen tool. And what we're doing with the pen tool is just clicking it. There's no click and drag. Okay, let me just say that from the very beginning. No click and drag. Here's what you'll see. You'll see that locked up. Okay. So what I'm going to do is click on the endpoint with a pen tool, and then I'm going to go to the other end of the straight line and click my pen, and I've traced that shape. So now a couple things I haven't done is colored it, and it looks like, see the red line, it looks like Illustrator's like, okay, let's finish the shape, and it doesn't realize we're done. So what we need to do is to click away from this to begin our next shape. So there's two ways to do it. The easy way with a quick key is to hold down Command on your Macintosh or Control on your PC. And what that does is that takes you to one of these selection tools, and you will click away. You can see it's deselected. It's still there. And then we can go down and start the next one. So now how do we color this? Well, we want to select it first. So I'm going to use a selection tool and click on it. That's the pen line that we just created. Let me pull it away. And that's what we've just traced. So what I'm going to do, if with this selected, I have these options here. I have a fill, which should be none. And we can see that over, it's beyond, it looks like a white box with a red line through it. So none. And then the stroke, I need to pick something that will stand out. Yeah, so when I deselect it, when I click away, we can see that I've done that. Okay, so here's our next shape, and I'm just going to click at the end point, and then click all the other corners. And now what I'm doing when I click these corners with the pen tool is I'm making anchor points. So just so you're aware, I've just made a bunch of anchor points. Now, if we go in close, we go, we didn't really hit it right on. So what we have to change that, to edit that, is the direct selection tool. And this allows us to move anchor points. And notice nothing else, I mean, the two lines next to the anchor point are moving, but everything else is pretty solid and still. I'm going to Control Z that to put that back where it was. So I could go in really close and move these anchor points so they line up. And that might be my best bet, and I'm just using my scroll to get around here. Yep, great. And then we'll go up to this top left one here. And then, yeah, you can see we're off on this one as well. But we'll fix that really quickly. Okay, now I've just moved it over to the right, but I've left this line completely off to show one more point, one more example here. And so what I'm doing, I'm going into layers right now, and see how it's red? That means when I select something, it'll be red, and I can't see it against my orange. So I'm going to change that red to something that I can see. And to do that, I'm going to double click in this empty area. And then this shows my layer options I can rename here, stuff like that. But I'm going to change this to just another set color like green. Well, let me just change it maybe to, yeah, light blue. That's great. Okay, now we can see it a lot better. I'm in a collapse this layer menu. Okay, so I can click, and we can click and drag up on a whole line to change that. So I didn't have to just change the points, I could have changed the lines. I'm going to do Command minus on a Mac or Control minus on a PC to zoom out. Yeah, and I missed that one too, so I'm going to zoom in on that and get this fixed. I'll move the line over, and then I'll move this point up. Okay, so I think we're ready to move on to the next one. You get the idea, okay? I'm not gonna continue. You guys, I mean, I think this is enough information for you to complete these shapes. Remember, this should be a no fill. So if, let me just show an example. If I were to draw this with a white fill, let me put a white fill on it. And I'm just going to do it rough, but if I begin doing it, it looks like it's vanishing. Well, it's not. It's making a fill. And the way I can kind of demonstrate that even a little better is I'll put a pink fill on it so you can see what's going on. So it's not vanishing, it's trying to fill things. But if this were a no fill, then we would just have an outline and we could see through it. Okay, let me delete that, and then we'll go on to page 2 with the curves. So curves are a little different, but we're going to approach them in the same way we do angles, and we need to keep something in mind as we're creating curves in Illustrator. So let me draw a circle in Illustrator so you can see how Illustrator handles curves. If I click on this, we can see these are anchor points here, at the very top the very left, very bottom, and very right. These are anchor points. And what Illustrator also does is puts in handles. Now notice the direction the handle is moving. This goes from exact horizontal to completely vertical, and the handle is not like this or like this. It's absolutely straight. Yeah. Okay, so when you're making a curve that needs to go like 90 degrees, you want to make sure that your handles are absolutely straight up and sideways. Okay, and this is the easiest way to do it. Instead of making a lot of different anchors all over the curve, we'll just do it at the very left, very top, very right, very bottom, and kind of apply that principle. So here, let's kind of consider these as a half circle, and a half circle. So I'm going to click on this beginning point, first of all, and then I'm going to go up to the very top, and I'm going to put another anchor point at the very top of this curve. I'll put one at the very right-hand side of this circle, but also the very left of the next. Very bottom, very right, topmost, and furthest right. Okay, so now that we have these anchor points in place, it doesn't look like we traced it at all, but we're going to hold down the command key on a Mac or a control key on a PC while we're in the pen tool. And what that does, it temporarily moves us to the selection tool, except if we, oh no, you know what? We're holding down the Option or the Alt key, sorry. Option or Alt will get us this flying V tool. And if we go close to a line, see how it changes. It's kind of this bent line tool, and what we'll do is drag this so it matches best we can the line. Okay, great. And then we're going to go back and fix the handles. So again, I'm in the pen tool, I'm holding down Option or Alt on a PC, and I'm dragging the lines so they match. Now, they don't match exactly, so I need to go in, still holding down that Option key or Alt key, and I want to adjust the height and the length of this. Okay, so I'm going to be slowly moving those around. I'm very close, so I don't want to move it like big increments, anything drastic. Like this one is nearly right on. So I don't know if I want to move that all that much. I need to make sure it's on up on this side too. Good. And then down here, so now that I move down here, where are my handles? I need to click on this. Click on the line segment to see it, and I need to move that over. So I'm just going to grab my selection tool and move that over. I know that adjusts this side. Okay, click on that. Okay. Yeah, it's ever so slight adjustments because we're nearly there. It's just okay. I'm going to hold down Command or Control on a PC to adjust that. I'm on a Mac, by the way, if I didn't say that. So hopefully you're getting the idea of how this is all working. But it is give and take just a little bit to get these lined up. Now, this seems difficult. It gets easier with practice. It's much easier with practice. Okay. All right. So that's how we do it. You can see on this curve, we would use these as curves. So very left, very top, very right, the bottom, and then the furthest right. This is very similar. We're just combining shapes and curves. So we'll just do it kind of quickly. Like this, and then I'm holding down Option to drag this up, and then you obviously just make those finite adjustments on the handles. Yeah, okay. The circle, I mean, we're just following this type of thing, okay? Like that, and then if we click and drag, or we can make handles here. I'm clicking and dragging it out of the anchor. Drag out of the anchor, or you can mouse over like we did previously. Okay, hopefully you get the idea. Great, and then now we'll move down to this area. So this one, instead of outlining, well, I'm going to keep it outlined until we fill it. So we've learned how to do these. This is easy at this point, right? We'll just click on the corners for some of these straight letters, and then on the curved letters, we're going to, so if we start here, so this is straight until we hit a curve, so I'm going to click on it, and then we'll go up to where the curve ends, and keep that straight, and then again where the curve ends, here, and when it begins. So I'm reserving those curved areas for when I come back later. And then when I come back here, I'm going to hold down the Option key on a Mac, the Alt key on a PC, and just drag those out. So when it's straight, I want to make sure that I have a line segment that is straight, and then when I have a curve, I'm going to put an anchor before the curve and just after, kind of keep those straight segments isolated from the curves. Like we did here, it's straight. When it starts turning the curve, I'm going to put an anchor in, and we'll come and adjust. Hopefully this is making sense. Same thing. In fact, yeah, so I think S is the only one that we'll have issues with, and you know how to do this. Okay, next is the pencil tool, and we'll come back. Now going to page 4, and this is the one where we're going to be using the pencil tool. So no longer the pen tool on this one, it's about the pencil, okay? Now, let me talk a little bit about the layer palette. So you can see already that this is in, it's kind of basically broken down into layers, right? There's one here, this dark red, then 2, 3, 4, this little orange, and there's a lighter orange, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, this very lightest orange. There's the sky, 7. Clouds might be in between there, so maybe 8. And we could put the text on its own layer, but let's just say there's 8 layers, okay? Okay, so what I'm going to do is, here's my artwork. I'm going to use, this is the layers palette, and if you don't see this here on the side, then I'm going to choose this fast forward button to collapse it. Then you would go up to the, now you can't see my mouse, but I'm up at the very top to the menu, and I'm clicking on Window. And Window is where all of these palettes are. You're going to find all the palettes, whether they're open or closed. So if I go, here's my layer palette. So if you don't see that little icon for layers, you can go to here and open up layers. Okay. So, and then at the bottom of the layer palette, there's a little box with a plus in it, and this is a create new layer. And I'm gonna click this 8 times. Okay. And I'm going to double click on the name of the layer and rename them. So this is going to be text and dark red. Okay. And then this one is going to be dark red. let me try renaming this maybe very dark red. Okay, I'll expand this a bit so we can see it. Okay, dark red. And this I'm going to call red. This one where the figures are, I'll call figures and orange red. And then, so that's this one. And then there's this lighter, so this one I think is just an orange. And then I'm going to call this one back here a light orange. Now, so you go, hey, I messed up already, because my sky should be at the very back. I'm going to choose this as sky. And then I'll choose clouds. Yeah, clouds. And I'll choose sun and sky. Okay, so here are all my layers. I need to move this sun and sky to the very back, but still above my art layer. And then clouds are going to go in between. So what I'm doing, I'm just grabbing the line. And usually I like to grab in this empty area, because sometimes if I grab, it does work, but sometimes if I grab that, it renames it. So I like just grabbing, you know, in the empty. So I'm going to move the clouds down right above sun and sky. So now here's the deal. The things that are, oh, and I need to change this whole thing, because what's on top is closest to you and what's on the bottom is furthest. So so that's right, but then I need to go light orange, orange, figures in orange, or in orange red, red, dark red, and then text in very dark red on the top. So hopefully that makes some sense. The lower things are, the further away. So basically we're sitting up here looking at the, and how I consider layers is, have you seen a transparency at school? I think it's called an opaque projector for school. We'll see if I can find it here. Yeah, one of these. And you may be too young to even have that in class, but what the idea is they, let's look at some images. Yeah, so they turn it on, then you put on these transparencies on it, and I'm seeing some super old images of, I wasn't around here. So, but you put on transparencies and you can draw on it and it projects up on the screen so everyone can see it. So now, you know that little stack of transparencies that they would use on this, I consider that, I think of that as my layers. It's a stack of transparencies. And so, you know, I draw on one, but I can see through all the rest. And these eyes are whether they're visible or not. And the little box next to them is a lock. So you can see this template, my bottom layer is locked. So I can do that. If I draw on things and I lock it, I don't want it touched, I'll just click the lock button and it won't get moved or edited. So that's kind of nice. So here we go. I am going to start with the pencil tool. Now if I mouse over this, you'll see the pencil. It's called the pencil tool, and then the shortcut is in parentheses. So this is N. So to get to this really quickly, letter N. So I might zoom in a little bit, and I'm going to start off the page. It's not going to hurt anything. And this is really just a freehand tool. Now, one thing that I failed to tell you about was the preferences for the pencil. So if you double click on this, here's the pencil options. And the fidelity slider, it starts in the middle. So what the problem with that is that wherever you draw, it rounds it out. If you put it up on smooth, it really rounds it out. But if you want it accurate and exactly how you draw, which you should, move the slider down to the very left. Okay, you can leave the rest here as it is, but let me show you something really cool about the pencil tool. Now I've already kind of messed up here, I can see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit the path right here. So I'm going to start, so notice the path is selected. I'm going to start on the path and start redrawing and notice what happened. It just took wherever I started and began redrawing it. Isn't that great? So if I wanted to just redraw a little section, I would start on the path or near the path and then end on the path, and it edits it. It's really, the editing is so wonderful. Okay, so you know what I'm going to do. So if the closer you get and the more detailed you follow these shapes, the better it will look. But so notice how well it follows it and how many anchors show up. So let's say I stopped drawing. Notice when I'm holding down the Command or Control key and I click away to deselect it. If I want to select it, I'll hold the Command or Control key while I'm still in the pencil tool and click on the path. Notice it all lights up. Now that's very important, because what we're going to do is and I'm backing up so I'll have a lot less detail, but I'm just going to show you, and I'll go a little fast here. Now when I connect it, watch what happens to my mouse, or to my cursor, my pencil. See the little zero that showed up? That means, hey, we're ready to connect a path, and that is exactly what you want. You want it to connect. So I'm going to release it. I'm actually going to move this stroke down to a 0.5 points. So it's a little bit narrower. And then I'm going to start on the next path. And like I mentioned, I'm going to go a little bit faster, but you shouldn't. Just keep zoomed in, get some good detail, make this look really nice. Could be a nice printout for someone in your life who's a Mandalorian fan. I guess that could be me, but I'm sure there's others. I'm not really in your life, I'm on your computer right now. So okay, so I've stopped that, and I need to connect these two. Okay, so I've deselected it, and now I want to start drawing again. And if I start drawing here, my pencil is it's not going to connect what I'm drawing to this path. What I have to do to connect the two, to start drawing again, is select it and then go to the end of the path. Now notice what happens. See the new icon that shows up at the bottom right of my pencil? It's a slash. That's exactly what you want. That means Illustrator is going to continue the path that you just left off. But you need to be at an endpoint. Okay. So here we go. I'm just going to connect it right through here. And you probably know why, because this dark red is going to cover up this shape. I don't need to go all the way down here. It's going to cover it up, right? So let's take a look at our layer palette here. I'm back looking at my layer palette, and I'm going to actually detach that and so I can move it around a bit. So I've drawn this should be on my dark red, but it's only on, oh, it should be on the very dark red. So see that it's selected. Notice what shows up. It shows up under dark red, and there's a little box that indicates that something is selected on that layer. But it shouldn't be there. It should be on the top one. So do I have to delete it and do it again? No, not at all. Don't do that. What you need to do is just grab that little box and move it up to the layer you want. Okay, now it's on a new layer. It's on the correct layer now, and I'm going to move that. That's at the right layer. So you could technically draw, I'm just going to move this off the page and continue drawing. You could just draw everything and then come back and put it on the correct layer. So one more time, if I stop drawing and deselect it, I can't see, I'm not getting the slash on my pencil. So if I start drawing here, it may look like it's the same path, but it is not. See how that lights up and that doesn't, or that is selected and this is not? That's a problem. They need to be on the same path. Why? I'll show you why. So I'm selecting this. I'm going to hold down the eyedropper tool and grab the dark red. I'm going to select this, use the eyedropper tool and grab this red. Okay. And then if I try to, let me just finish this path here. Okay. So, and if I select this, notice the middle one's not selected, and I use the eyedropper and I grab that red, and I'll move it to the right layer, which is red. It's incorrect. You would need to connect those. Let me show you how to do it. So I have that selected. I need to connect these two, and the way you do it is you hold down, use your selection tool, hold down Shift, and add that. So now they're, I've just moved it to the same layer. See, it was up here, this dark one, and now I've moved it to the same layer. So at least it's on the same layer now. And this is a pain in the butt. But what you need to do is get your pencil tool and go from one end to the other end. Okay, and it makes this goofy line, but you can edit it just like this to get rid of that. And we'll go to the other side, which has the same issue, and I need to connect these two as well. Yep. And then I'll edit it. Yeah. Okay. All right, so I've just connected those two. That's probably one of the easier ways to do that. All right. Now I'm going to select this and then use my eyedropper and get that red shape. Now notice all of these have a little gradient underneath them. Let me just hide. I'm going to hide the top 3 layers that I just created. Now look at another thing to notice. On the layers, here's the shape that's on that layer. These are just little thumbnails of what I've drawn. We can hide those. So when I put in this dark red, when I show it, it's kind of apparent. If we look close, it is a light red to dark, to a little bit darker, and here's a darker red to even darker. So we'll come back and address that in a minute when we're all done drawing. So we're into the figure layer. Use the pencil tool, and here we go. I am going to show you some things about this. I'm going to get where I left off, and I'm going to go kind of slow and make sure I'm getting the right shapes. I ran out of mouse room, so I'm releasing and then starting again. So as I'm tracing here, I'm noticing there's some negative shapes inside, inside his arm and inside this arm, that really help define his figure. So we'll need to address that. So yeah, let me finish this. Okay, actually I should back up a bit and just take a little less time on it, because this is not the point, the accuracy for me. I just want to show you how to handle those negative shapes. So just backing up so I can do it a little bit faster. Okay, so that is the end of that shape. We'll finish that shape out from this far away, because it'll just be a lot easier, and then I'll connect those two. Okay, so now how in the world do we handle these shapes? Well, it's pretty simple. I'm just going to draw them out, making sure they're complete shapes. This guy right here. Okay. So okay, so I've drawn all of those on this figures and orange red. So I know that because they were all in that light blue when I drew them. If I want to select everything on that layer, I have this little meatball. They call it a target. I call it a meatball. If you click on it, it'll select everything on that layer. And I can use the eyedropper and grab that orange. Now it also grabbed the, it also filled in the negative shapes, these here, but we don't want that. We want those to be removed. So how we do that is we use this tool called Shape Builder tool. And so to use this tool, you have to have all the shapes that you're dealing with selected. And then you're going to hold down the Option key. See how it has a plus on next to my cursor? What's cool about this is you can join shapes together. So I'm drawing this line over the shapes that I want to join. I don't want to do that in this case, but I'm just showing you this feature. And it joins them. I'm going to Control Z to go back a step. But if I hold down Option, I get a minus. And then I can click on the shapes I want removed, and they will be knocked out of the background, just like that. Pretty slick, right? Okay, so then we move on. Here's our orange layer. And I'm going to just go very fast at this point, because I feel like you've got it. You kind of understand what's happening here. I don't want to bore you. Okay, there's our orange, and eyedropper is the letter I, and I'm clicking on the orange. I'm going to put that in the right layer, which is, actually I'm going to probably just hook it onto here, and it's going to go down to light orange. Is it? No, it's on orange. Yeah, and then here's where we're at with all our layers shown. I'll turn those off. We're going to do this last light orange end tool. Okay, it's not going to look as good, unfortunately, but I actually really like this design. I think it's fantastic. I think it gets a nice feel of the Mandalorian. He's in this kind of a red rock landscape often, and the silhouette, although it's not, I mean, you can't tell the Mandalorian costume in the silhouette, but you definitely get the flavor of what's going on. Okay, so I'll color that the eyedropper orange, and yep. So I think we have all our rocks created, and now we're going to be working on the sky and the sun. So let's just do a simple circle. So here's our circle tool, ellipse tool. I'm going to go dead in the middle of the circle of the sun, and I'm going to hold down Option and Shift and click and drag out. Now, it's because I'm holding down Shift, it's an exact circle, and because I'm holding down Option, it's drawing from the middle of the circle. If I removed Option, I would be drawing from where I clicked. But, and if I removed Shift, I would be drawing not a circle, any kind of ellipse. But Shift and Option, get it done. And hopefully I was relatively close. Okay, so there's our sun. And I'm going to off-center, just drag it over and try to get, so it looks like it's a gradient from like a lemon yellow to a light lemon yellow to lemon yellow again. And that's fine. I mean, it's great, in fact. So maybe this is a good time to talk about, and it's also kind of see-through because I feel like it's on top of the clouds. Because I can see the clouds under them, but the sun is over the clouds, right? Okay, so let's spend some time talking about, let me collapse the layers, talking about gradients. So my gradient palette is not up here. I'll go up to Window and go down to Gradient to bring that up. Now, to make a gradient out of this, like the sun, I need to just click on the black and white to make it a gradient, and then I can alter it. So right now this is going, the gradient as I've clicked it goes from white to black. And here it is on the left is white, and on the right is black. So the gradient goes left to right, but I want it to go top to bottom. So instead of doing 0%, I want to do a 90, like that. Or I can go grab my gradient tool over in the, and while it's selected, I can click and drag to make that gradient go wherever I want, whatever angle, however short, right? But this does have, it goes from top to middle to bottom. So I'm going to do that same thing just like this, okay? And then instead of the white, I'm going to choose a lemon yellow. And instead of the black, I'm going to choose another lemon yellow, or the same lemon yellow. And then I need to put a new color right in here, and that's to do that, I'm just going to put my mouse over this bar and click on it. You see the little plus that comes up? Yeah, so I'm going to double click on that, and so it is a lemon yellow, it's 100%, but I need to make it a little bit lighter, a little bit white into it. So I'm going to use this palette so I can adjust. And if I move that down to maybe, yeah, that's about right. It's in there somewhere, 30. And then I can grab these little diamonds and see how, I mean, I can make them really, the gradient really tight, but I don't think it's that tight. I think it's a little bit, and so it's the same thing. What I'm seeing here is the same thing here. It's just a little bit nicer to work on the art on screen. Okay, so that's it. That's it. We've just made the sun. We put some gradients in, now the only problem now is it's opaque, and we need to see behind it. We need to see through it. We need to change the opacity. So what we'll do is go to our properties. If you don't see properties, remember Window down to properties. I'll bring up properties, and with that selected, you can see it's a fill. It's kind of this yellow gradient. There's no stroke, but the opacity is 100%. So I'm going to change that to maybe, I don't know, something like that looks about right. And I'll drag that around so I can kind of see. I think it may need to be a little bit stronger, actually. And maybe, anyway, it's not bad. It's about right. You know what I actually think is going on is there's not so much white. It's just more transparent. So let's fix that. I'm going to go get my gradient tool again. Here it is. I don't think there's white in here. I actually think it's a that full kind of lemony yellow, but the opacity is not 100 on that area. I feel like it's down to like 40. That's a little bit much. Maybe 60 or 70. So now to me that feels closer to what we're after. I could probably come in here and make some adjustments. It's probably a little bit warmer, so I might add some magenta to it. And notice I'm affecting this one only. Anyway, we are very close on that. So I'm going to, to be honest, we're not terribly close. But I'm just going to move this transparency up a little bit more. Okay, I think that's close enough. All right, so I actually kind of feel like the sun is on top of the clouds. So I'm going to move this in front of the clouds, and I'm going to change it to just the sun. Okay, and then I'm going to put a new layer in, and I'll call this the sky, and I'll put that behind the clouds. And this might be a good chance for us to do the sky right now. So to do the sky, I'm just going to make a rectangle like that. And I'm going to move it, and notice that it kept all the properties from the last thing we drew, which is kind of cool to know that that happens. But anyway, we definitely want a gradient here, right? So instead of this lemon yellow, I'm going to use the eyedropper and go grab that deep red. And then instead of this yellow here, I'm going to use the eyedropper and grab that orange. And I might put another, let's get our gradient tool and add another one and another one. Okay. Collapse that. Okay, so for this guy, I'm going to use the eyedropper and grab maybe this kind of yellowy thing here. And then for this, maybe I did that a little bit wrong. I think on this one, I'm going to probably grab that blue. And then I might put one, oh yeah, we have this one down here. So I have this one, and then I'm going to make this grab the eyedropper and grab the really bright blue right there. Oops, right there. No, right there. Yeah, okay. So if I move, let's see, make sure this is on the right layer. I have it selected, it's on my sun layer. I'm going to drag it down to the sky layer, and then I'll move it over. Okay, we're coming along. We're getting there, right? So this is all well and good, but I need to work on the clouds, and I can't see them right now. So I'm going to just hide the sky. Yeah, so here we go. We'll go into my clouds. I'll make sure they're selected just so it's a little bit easier. And pencil tool. Now, I'm not going to draw all these clouds, but I do want to show you a couple things, okay? So this is two clouds kind of on top of each other, right? And one is more transparent than the other. I think we'll call these white, but we're going to change the transparency for sure on them. Okay. And we'll change that to white, and I'm going to put it behind it. Okay, so let's take a look at what we need to do here. I'm going to grab both of these and move them up. And this bottom one, I'll go to Properties, and I'm just going to do it by eye. Actually, those are probably yellow, not white, huh? Let's change that. So I'm going to change the fill to yellow. Yeah, that looks maybe a warm yellow. No. Okay, sure. Okay, so we have kind of a, geez. You know what, I really think that it's too yellow. It has to have a touch more white in it. So what I'm going to do with this yellow selected, this yellow one here, I'm going to go down to plus to make a new color. And then here's what I get a new swatch, and I'm going to add some more, like kill my yellow down a bit, maybe to here. And then there's my new swatch. There's that pale yellow that I just made. And I think that's right. Then I'm going to select this one and use the property. And I'm going to change, oops, I grabbed the outside one. Let me try to grab the inside. So I have a feeling that since this one was drawn first, the inside, that it's under it. So how I select underneath something is hold down Command on the Mac, Control on the PC, and click on that, and just keep clicking until you go deeper and deeper. And I've found it now. I've selected it. I'm going to grab that pale yellow again, and I'm going to change the opacity back down to what looks, that looks about right. So that's kind of the idea, and I'm going to move these two clouds back into place. Yeah, okay. So that's kind of it, and you just start taking care of these clouds. Now notice some are a little bit whiter than others. And it could be okay just to select that color and it'll fill correctly, but some of them won't necessarily, and the ones that won't are the ones that are overlapping, obviously. So those need to have a transparency on them, and you have to play with it like I did these. Okay, so that's it. So you're just adding a bunch of clouds, and then you could use the eyedropper and select the cloud to fill it. Now, we have an issue because of all of this extra stuff on the outside. How do we get rid of that? Well, I'm going to make sure all of those layers are unlocked. And this is kind of I'll just show you how to do it. So you make a rectangle that goes to the edge of your art. Okay. And then you select everything to the edge of the art, but don't select the edge of your art, like that. Then we'll use the Shape Builder tool, holding down Option on a Mac, Alt on a PC, and I'm going to just drag across these things to delete them. Even the ones I've missed, I can go back and delete. So this cleans up our art afterwards and just makes it nice and clean and even. And we do that on all sides. The last little bit is going to be this Star Wars Mandalorian. And personally, no, we don't have to do that. You're welcome to, but you don't have to. You can still get a good grade, excellent grade, without doing that type. Why? Because I've already seen you do tracing all over the thing, so you don't need to do that. Okay, so this is what you will save as a PDF, and that PDF is what you'll submit into Canvas. Okay, all right, excellent. Thanks guys, I'm excited to see your work.